Hello, everybody. Welcome into episode 56 of the Relativity Podcast. Jeez, it's been a week and I'm already messing that up. We were we weren't on last week because I was sick. I didn't have a voice. I'm still a little under the weather, but catching back up as we speak.
Yeah, my allergies have been kicking my ass. I never
Well,
had allergies.
it's kind of one of those sicknesses that ran through everybody. Delilah was really sick. Benjamin was sick. I fought it as long as I could, and then it finally got me. So,
Yeah, I think that's what we had a couple weeks back too.
it was just brutal, man. I was like, it's been a while since I've been sick. I don't normally catch the little bugs that go around, and this one had me down and out. I was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah.
So, after a week's absence, here we are back at our booth in space, and
I do apologize if the sound's off. I have a feeling one of us is going to be louder. I just, without listening to it, I can't tell. So I do apologize if the sound is off on this one.
yeah, it's too distracting. I can't hear two things at once. It just throws me off. So we'll just roll with it as it is right now. And you kind of titled this one to tweet or not to tweet, and I got a kick out of that because of, well, the relevance of Elon Musk and Twitter.
Irrelevance. I
Well,
don't think he has the money to buy it. I mean, I'm sure he could get the money, but
so for anybody who doesn't know, Elon Musk came out and said that he's slowly been buying stake in Twitter.
and by slowly, he bought 9% last week with $3 billion.
Well, no, he's been buying it since January, which is what he came out and said that he's been slowly amassing since January. He didn't do the whole chunk in once. He did a big chunk. But I thought it was kind of funny because if you had seen his bid, he basically said, "I want to buy Twitter and I'm going to pay $40 billion for it. And that's my best and final offer. Take it or leave it. If you don't take it, I'm going to go ahead and sell all my shares of Twitter."
Please do. I hope he sells all $3 billion worth of shares, because that's $3 billion worth of taxes he can get raked over. I mean, here's the thing. Like, even if you account for everything, his pitiful little offer, it's still 1% of his income. His total offer is 10% of his income. That would be equivalent of me trying to buy Twitter for $10,000. Like,
Well, and it's on obviously just it was a bold move in general because if he sells all 9.2% of stock in one go, that's going to hurt Twitter for a little while.
nah.
Just 'cause it's going to drop their stock price. I mean, it's just how it's going to go. $3 billion coming out of Twitter. It's going to drop the price a little bit. Just even if it's just a short-term loss, it's still going to be there.
Stocks, here's the thing with stocks. It's the thing that I've slowly been realizing. They're worthless. They're pointless. Because Twitter could come out and say, yeah, well, we're going to I'm just gonna, I know the terms aren't accurate or anything, but they can revert or split or reverse split, or there's so much that can be done. And it's like, stocks in general are just, they're not something that the average person can do. I mean, if you look at GameStop, people, or Robinhood, and well, I think it was mostly Robinhood and a lot of those things. were actively trying to stop people from buying shares.
I don't remember it. Was Robinhood was trying to stop people from buying
Yeah,
GameStop
they
shares?
they stopped anyone from trading GameStop.
Well, I'm assuming that was a regulatory thing.
No,
You know, that
and then it came out that they were selling shares but weren't actually buying the shares.
they were selling the shares. Oh, so
Bec-
they were just taking the money and not actually buying the
yep,
shares.
like it's and Robinhood's still around. Like that's the thing. Shares and stuff. It's all corporate stuff. Like you, me, we will never have enough say in a company to, or enough buying power to ever effectively affect the market. The fact that a billionaire teenager is threatening Twitter and his reasoning for it is so bad. It's so bad.
Wait, which one are we talking about?
Oh no, why Elon wants to buy Twitter?
Oh, what's his reasoning for? I mean, I think I know, but
He wants
elaborate.
it to be free and open,
Right.
which doesn't work. It's why if you go to any of the free and open platforms that popped up after Trump got banned off Twitter, they are the most regulated places you have ever been to.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a reason that totally free doesn't exist is because it ends up being a breeding ground for lots of crazy stuff and
Exactly. That you have to have moderation. And the fact of the matter is, like, every company has terms of service. Twitter is a private company. If Elon were to take it over and turn it into what I'm assuming I still think this is some sort of like grudge he has against the SEC.
it's possible.
But
I really liked that the first person that they interviewed after all this news came out was the kid who tracks his jet.
all
And they were
right,
like, "What do you?" And then they were like, "What do you think of this?" And he was just like, "Uh, I'm gonna get banned."
well, that's just it. Like, Elon Musk is known for blocking people quite regularly, which is fine. It's a personal account. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Um, the fact is, if he were, and then there was a conspiracy I saw that he was buying Twitter just to block that kid.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact of the matter is, if he did buy Twitter, that would be the first thing he did was be to start censoring people, especially anyone that talked out against him.
Well, yes. I mean, there and nobody, we can't know his true intentions
It's
until it happens or if it happens. But the I found it pretty comical, essentially uh I think there's a lot of um basically I think and this is of course is just my opinion, but I think he's just trying to make a point with all the censoring and regulation, basically he's just trying to say, look, why should anybody be able to tell me what I can and cannot say or blah blah.
because it's see, and that's where you end up going down the tricky. Oh, that's what was smelling earlier. Got it. Um, it's a minefield because on one hand, you know, the Second Amendment does not protect you for what you say on a private platform. And
Yes, the right to bear arms does not.
not the second. Well, oh god damn it, the First
It's the
Amendment.
First
Yeah.
Amendment.
Well, I mean, the statement still applies.
Sure. I mean,
But
yeah.
a lot of people try and equate Twitter and Facebook and everything to a public space because, oh, well, we don't have public spaces, the same way that they had when it was written. It should be counted. It should be allowed. The thing that always gets me is the First Amendment only protects you from the government. And the last time I checked, Twitter is not part of the government.
Well, I have a theory on or I guess an opinion on that, because I feel like the First Amendment is a tricky one, because most people want the freedom of speech. They want to be able to say whatever they want when they want to say it, and that's fine. The only problem is, no, it's particular to the user. Well, I want free speech to be able to say that bananas are gross.
Which you
Okay.
have every right to.
Right. But then somebody along the line is going to say that that's the most insane thing I've ever heard. Bananas are not gross. And then they're going to try and censor me because they don't think that bananas are gross. But,
Here's the problem. That is a completely made up situation that will never happen. Because,
well, I'm trying to keep it PC here,
Well, I mean, realistically, like, the freedom of speech says, well, if someone walks up to me and says, "Hail Hitler," and I punch him in the face, they do not have freedom of speech.
Technically they do.
No, I am not the government. I will get assault charges, yes, but they do not have freedom. They have the freedom to say whatever they want, but I can still punch them in the face.
Well, you have the freedom to punch them in the face. Now, it's illegal to punch someone in the face, so you're going to get
I understand that
trouble for that.
But
I'm
on the same flip, or on the same flip of the coin, if you go up to, if like you make a hog squeal at a cop, they do not have the right to do anything. They are the government. Like,
well,
they can still do stupid, or find a way to.
And that's a scenario in which you have to play to the crowd. You gotta choose your battle. I mean, but that's to say that any particular thing is perfect. Now, I could say any cubic is 10 times better than Prussa. And you can sit there, and I know what you're going to say, but you're going to say, well, no, that's ridiculous. All right. Well, regardless of whether or not that's true, I'm entitled to my opinion.
Well, and that's just it. The thing is, people are equating the First Amendment to saying they can't say racist stuff on a private platform. That's what this boils down to. They are saying racist or hateful or, things that should not be said on private platforms.
No, I understand what you're saying as far as the terms of service and private. If I tell you that you can't bring a gun into my store, then you can't bring that. That's my rules for my store.
Yeah.
Now, does that counteract? Does it contradict the open or the concealed carry law of a particular place? It's arguable one way or the other.
Yeah.
One side can say yes, the other side can say no. So it's kind of all in the eyes of the beholder and the law that says one or the other.
Yeah, but you can't. That's the thing. And that's where it gets tricky, because technically marijuana is federally illegal. You're not allowed to have it. Colorado said, fuck that, it's legal. Do whatever you want. Now, that's where it differs, because until there is a court case that goes through and they say, nope, absolutely not. Marijuana is federally illegal. No one can grow it, use it, sell it, whatever. The problem is, in that situation, there is a reason why it's never been tested at the higher courts, because it will fail. And then once it fails, it becomes federally legal. And a lot of states don't want that. Same thing that'll happen with like guns. If a store says, "Don't bring guns into my store," we don't allow it. Are people going to do it? Yes. That's the whole point of concealed carry, is you don't show it off.
Right.
But if you walk into a store and be like, I don't agree with your sign, I've got my gun, they have every right to kick you out. Like that's the thing, is they do not have to follow a federal law. Like there is no federal law that says they can't tell you can't bring a gun on board or into their store. All they have to do is say, nope, guess what? We are not servicing you. Get out, or we're calling the cops for trespassing.
Right.
And it doesn't become the fact of, hey, it's because I have a gun. Well, yes, it's because they have a gun. It's because they are breaking that store's rules. There is no federal law that says a store cannot set up laws like that. And any law that says a store cannot say they can have guns in the store will be illegal. It will get struck down immediately. That's why there are no laws like that.
Well, in the FCC, they try and regulate as much as they can. Now, the other flip side is with all the second you open up a platform, you're going to have trolls, and
which is why there is report, and that's why there is stuff like that.
Yes. Well, and it's just going to open up I already think Twitter is a breeding ground for garbage. So for me, it's kind of one of those things that if you open Twitter up even more, it's just going to be god awful.
Well, and that's
what was the one? Was it the one that came out that Donald Trump tried to open up?
Truth Social, or
no, it was started with a P.
No, Parler wasn't.
Parler was the one he tried to start.
No, it wasn't. It was open before he got banned. He never actually officially joined Parler, as far as I'm aware.
Well, that's one, but that was a scenario where nobody went, like Parler failed because it was so god awful.
Oh yeah, no, it was all about it. Like the racism and everything that was rampant in it was horrendous. Like there was subreddits dedicated just to tracking the nasty shit that was being said, and that was all a specific side. Like,
and that's a scenario where yes, regulation and the ability to ban people is a good thing. But there's also a fine line between what people are saying and the narratives that people want you to, adopt. I don't know. It's such such a sticky subject.
Because here's the thing. Because I know you and Kirk used to joke about cancel culture and all of that. And that kind of plays into what we're talking about. People getting banned off Twitter for off-color remarks or anything like that, or things they said decades ago. That's kind of a myth that's blown out of proportion. Because I've seen it a lot on TikTok. Like I was on the drama side of TikTok because that's kind of what got me hooked into it. Until they started getting taken out by themselves for being, what they were trying to take out. And it's amazing to me that almost everyone was like, all you have to do is apologize. Like, be actually heartfelt and apologize, and no one would care. Learn from your mistake. And things, will change. But a lot of them just double down and be like, nope, I'm right. You can't prove that I'm wrong. And I think that's where the whole cancel thing is coming from. Like, this is going to be topical. I don't know if you know about it, but there is a politician that is running as a centrist against Lauren Boebert.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
and he lost his mind because he said the left can't run progressives. It's impossible. You have to run centrists, and everyone's like, you're just on the right. You're just, you just don't want to admit it. And he lost his mind because I had followed him because he popped up as a Colorado politician, and I'm not a big fan of Boebert. But it was something different. Like, we're heading into midterms, so I try and stay an open mind, and then he started saying that, and I just was like, nope, I'm not, and unfollowed him. And then he threw a huge tantrum that, he's been canceled and yada yada yada.
Well, but in canceling, I mean, that's one scenario, but when people generally get canceled off of I've seen scenarios, especially let's talk about, like, COVID. If you didn't if you said something that wasn't 100% in line with what the CDC recommended or whatever,
no, see,
boom,
I
automatically you get canceled.
No. Because there were people that were still and are still very heavy critical of the CDC. Most of the people that are for the mask mandates and for the vaccine are heavily critical of the CDC and don't necessarily agree with what they're doing. The problem was there was a lot of, and it was very easily proven to be, Russian propaganda about anti-masks and anti-vaccine. And that's what people were getting tired of. Like, you can't sit there and spout the same nonsense over and over and over again and be refutedly, that's the entirely wrong word. Like, people that were against them were citing sources. Like that whole ivermectin thing. There was no research that was ever done that said it was effective. The one study that was done that said it might be effective had a ton of errors and was never, it was immediately pulled. But by then,
but couldn't you say that? Couldn't you say that there was, and we talking about ivermectin? I never took ivermectin. I had no horse in the game, but see what I did there. The thing for me was ivermectin was a proven antiviral that's been around for a long time. The guy won a Nobel Prize who made it.
Not antiviral. Anti-worm.
It's a huge... from what I could tell, because I looked into it, it has human vaccine. Human... It's been given to humans for a long time.
Yes, for worms.
Well,
the parasites are not. Is it an anti-parasite? I don't remember the specifics, but
I think it's parasite because it was. I think they use it a lot in.
Well, that's why it's a livestock. It's for worms. That's why everyone was calling it a horse dewormer, is because it's for worms.
But here's the thing, it's a very safe.
Not safe. Safe when prescribed.
When prescribed, yes. Anyway, it got written off like it was. Anyway, so we don't have to talk about this because we could be in the wrong side of misinformation because we don't actually know what the hell we're talking about. But
well, here's the thing. Every study that came out after the whole thing all said it doesn't do anything. The few sources that said it could help were lethal doses in humans. Like, that was another thing. Like, people were saying, it works. It does have an effect on COVID, but that was at a lethal dose to a human.
Great. But the thing is before anybody even knew one way or the other, they were canceling people for even mentioning it, which is what seems to me.
This is my question, is who? Because there's been plenty of people who still support ivermectin. Like a very popular podcaster who still has a platform, still has stuff. The only thing that happened to him is a lot of his stuff was pulled, but that's not affecting his
Right.
bottom line.
Well, but if you looked at a lot of the doctors who were anti-vaccine, they all got canceled. They got deplatformed.
Good.
It's a slippery slope, man. I'm telling you,
Okay. I will admit, I was on the side of I didn't trust something like that at first. But here's the thing. It's been tested more than any other vaccine in history at this point.
Right. Which we don't need to get into the specifics of that. I'm just saying, if I'm against something, should I be canceled just simply because I'm against it?
No. The problem is, and this is what I'm trying to say, is a lot of the studies that were out about, anti-vaccines or anti-mask or whatever had no basis in reality.
Sure.
And the like, if you go look and try and find sources for any of those, ivermectin, the masks, the vaccine, they're all going to be on heavily biased websites. There's not going to be any peer-reviewed sources that point that they are right. It's all speculation. It's all he said, she said, because it's been proven.
So anything speculative or opinionated that may be wrong should be canceled.
No. Who's saying that? I'm just saying the problem I have is if you're a doctor and you say vaccines are bad, that mRNA vaccine is bad, and then you have peers that say, actually, we've done plenty of testing, here's the results, it's all safe, and you go, no, it's still bad, that deserves deplatforming because you are actively going against current information. Can that information change? Sure.
But isn't that my opinion?
If you
just like Elon Musk is, when he initially tried to get that kid to stop giving out his plane, he told him, one of the things that he tried to persuade the kid with was, look, what you're doing is a security risk for me because people know exactly where I am at all times because you keep telling them where I'm at.
Says the dude who could hire a literal military to follow him around.
Right. So,
who probably has a literal military that follows him around.
But my point is, that kid, you're not going to tell that kid to stop, even though he's might be threatening the life of somebody. If that were the case, I don't think anybody's out to get Elon Musk, but
no. And that's, here's the thing. The kid is not doing anything that is illegal. And if we go by the letter of the law, he is not doing anything that is legal. There's nothing that can be legally done to stop him. Musk can throw a tantrum all he wants.
I'm not doing anything illegal by saying that vaccines are bad.
That's debatable. Because yes, you are.
What's wrong? What's illegal?
I'm not saying it's necessarily illegal, but it is unethical.
Ethically, it may or may not be good or bad, but
no, it is unethical because this is a proven fact. We had gotten completely rid of whooping cough. And then because of the anti-vax movement, whooping cough is back. Same with a lot of other diseases that were gone. I, for one, do not want to see a resurgence of polio or any of the other vaccines that were completely eradicated.
Is whooping cough croup?
No.
Oh. Whatever croup is, that's what my kids got.
Yeah, that's just a seasonal thing. But that's my point, is it is factually proven that anti-vax has killed people. Now, under the letter of the law, no, it is not illegal for you to be that. But ethically, you're supporting a movement that has killed people.
and will continue
Right,
to kill people.
but ethically,
No, it's
no, I'm saying ethically is not the way we should be judging what people can and cannot say, right? Because
I
ethically, I shouldn't be able to call you an asshole.
no, you absolutely
I'm
can call me an asshole. That's what does calling me an asshole, what ramifications does that have? May hurt my feelings, but I
right,
can make a joke and say I'm not a Republican. That doesn't, I don't get upset because my feelings get hurt.
right, and you chose to ignore what I was saying.
What do you mean? Well, I see where you're going with this, but it's still a bad take. Because even if you say, and here's why. Here's my opinion on why. Even if you say, "Oh, I'm not going to be vocal, but I'm just going to just refuse vaccines and all that," and then you end up perpetrating a virus that ends up, maybe not you, maybe not your family, maybe not anyone you knew, but because you had the virus, somewhere down the line someone dies, that should still be on you. Maybe not in a legal sense, but on a moral sense, because of an action you took, you killed someone. I have a
Right.
big problem with that.
Yes, and that is your perspective on the issue, which you're entitled to, which was going back to the whole point of I think at some point you have to put the onus on the person,
And that's
not the grand, the grand scale of people who are affected,
I agree. And it would be impossible to, and we're talking in the realm of viruses, but it would be impossible to factor that. My point is, if
No,
you were showing verifiable information and still go against that, even if it's from multiple sources and multiple different things, and you're still against that and you still push a narrative against what science and everything is showing, then yes, I do feel that you should have actions taken against you. If it's
hold on. Let me throw this at you because it's untopical in the sense of news, but it's topical in the sense of my world. Did you ever hear about or know much about the case of the Anna Delvey, the chick, the socialite wannabe chick who scammed a bunch of people?
probably not. I mean, I might have heard of it.
Anyway, this girl scammed a bunch of banks and hotels, and she was trying to live like a a German heiress, but she didn't actually have any money, and so she scammed a bunch of people to get there. And we had this debate on, is it on her or is it on the people who fell for what she was pitching?
Well,
Well, it absolutely was on her. She should have never done it. But then the moral question is well, isn't it eventually on the people who fell for it?
see,
I don't
again,
actually think
it's
so, but
here's the no, I do like what. So what's the ramifications? What effect did she have on the population as a whole? Absolutely nothing. She cost a few multi-million-dollar companies a couple $1,000s. Oh my god, it's the world's going to end. Now, to say that her actions don't deserve consequences is false. She deserves. You can't have everyone out there trying to do what she did. But on the flip side, the companies are going to now change up their tactic and be more proactive in verifying stuff, which means she will have an effect on future generations. The next person that tries to do what she did isn't going to be able to do it. Like if she murdered people, that's different than if she defrauds a bank. Like, I don't know if I took that in a different direction than you were thinking, but
no, you didn't. Because it kind of tied back into where I was hoping you would take it, and it was a little bit of a setup in the sense of, uh, she. What you're saying is, okay, so she got some corporations to lose some money. Boo-hoo. They fell for it. She should still be in trouble, but it's still their fault.
Well, and that's just it. Like, well, let's take this down to a personal level, because you're looking at it at a corporation level and you love corporations. So if I said to you, hey, can I borrow $100? I need to do this, and I'll pay you back when I get paid. And I do, Bart, you give me the money, and then I just ghost you. Do you have legal action? Sure. Is it worth it enough to, ethically or morally or whatever you want to describe it as, I was in the wrong. I took that money without any intention of paying you back.
Right.
This falls into like laws are weird because you have, and I'll preface this because it's something I saw recently. There are certain laws. I think the max time for, I don't remember the state because I just glanced at it, but one of the states just passed a law criminalizing abortions. And the max fine for that, or sentence, was like 10 years in prison. Whereas on the flip side, you have rape. Someone rapes someone, the max sentence is 5 years.
Okay.
Like, laws right now are all over the place. In my opinion, and I know this is kind of off track of what we're doing, things need to be reevaluated as a whole. Like, you can look at what the founding fathers wanted, and I did air quotes there, but a lot of them had the idea of redoing the Constitution every generation, every 20 years. Because let's be realistic, I mean, there's a reason why we have so many amendments to the Constitution. It's because things change.
Sure.
And it's obviously that's not going to happen. That's about as likely as communism being a working thing in society. The thing, I'm kind of lost where. It's just that as a whole, everything is all over the place. Like if I run over your dog here versus if I run over your dog in Mississippi, the fines and potential crime and everything, it could be wildly different. Like I could get a slap on the wrist in one place and go to jail for a year in another. I don't know how we got talking about.
I don't know. I enjoyed the conversation though, because it was honestly, it went a little farther than I thought it was going to go. And it's an intriguing topic because I still think that everything is very subjective to the person.
Well, and I agree. My thing is, and this is why when you bring up doctors, and we'll circle back around to the doctor thing. Doctors have regulatory boards. I have a regulatory board. I have ethics and stuff that I have to follow as my job. The doctors have the same. When you say if the anti-vax doctors are getting deplatformed or losing their jobs or whatever, it's because they are going against their ethics. Like they can say, "Oh, this is canceling. I'm being canceled." Yada yada yada. They are going against what they. It doesn't matter. Like when you enter into a scientific fact profession, you have to follow the science. If you start deviating and saying, "Oh, that science isn't real," or all this other stuff, like there was a chiropractor that I saw who was likening COVID to snake venom. He was saying it was snake venom that was being put into the water and poisoning people. It's like things need to be held to a standard, especially when you're in that position. Like, I have a degree. That is, when I took my job, said, I will follow the ethics. Like if I'll give you an example. Because I deal with radiation, if I were to do an excessive amount of x-rays on a person because I was just screwing up, I can lose my job. And I understand that because I am not doing my job well and I'm not following the science of my job.
Sure.
Same with a doctor. If a doctor is being shown that he is not going to follow the standard medical care guidelines set forth by the regulatory boards, they have every right to take back their certification. You when you hold these titles, you can't go against the boards that regulate you. And honestly, some of these doctors getting deplatformed probably saved them their jobs. Because if they can't spout nonsense, they can't potentially be fired for the nonsense. Like sometimes being deplatformed is not a bad thing.
Right. But when you circle back into Elon Musk buying Twitter, it just makes there's a very I would say that you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be pissed about it.
Oh,
and they're going to be pissed because Twitter is going to be an open platform.
Here's the thing though, it already is. Like
I agree. It's dude, it's a cesspool. Like Twitter just
again, it's where it depends on which route you go. Like Twitter is essentially, I would equate it to the new Tumblr. Because Tumblr back in the day, it was all over the place. It was, porn and anime and all types of, there was communities everywhere. It's the same thing on Twitter. It's just if you end up going down like the political path, like with anything, it is going to get nasty on both sides.
I did actually have some pretty cool conversations on Twitter. So, I mean, there was good people on Twitter, but there was a lot of weird, bad people on Twitter as well. So,
well, and it's just like you get that in everyday life, though. Like,
yeah, that's true. But most people.
Well, here's the thing:
hiding behind the veil, all that bullshit.
That's just it. When you're on Twitter, as long as that's the thing. Like most people on Twitter hide behind an anonymous name and a profile picture. That's usually not anything related to them. And most trolls and most people who have horrible takes hide behind anonymity. And those same people who hide behind anonymity would never in their life say anything like that to someone's face.
Right.
Because they know there would be consequences for being that vile to someone. It's just,
like I said, circling back around, I hope Elon Musk does buy Twitter. Because I think it'll be comical and it'll give us something to talk about for a little while.
Yeah, he'll ban Bezos like immediately. I can.
I didn't even think about that. That'd be awesome.
But see, that's just it. There's other nefarious things that he may be trying to do with Twitter, and that's what I don't want to see. Because he could be trying to stop all talks of unionizing. Because Amazon just had a warehouse unionized. Like, unionization is picking up steam.
Which surprises me because unions had lost a lot of power in the workforces, but now they seemingly coming back and scaring a lot of employers.
Well, that's just it. That's why Amazon's going so hard. Like, they came out with an app, like the app they use for inner working communication has like union banned. Like, you can't say union, or there's a whole list of words, and most of them having to deal with like fair wage and union and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I did see that they were talking about. I couldn't figure out if it was verified or not, but
well, I mean, regardless, these companies are scared because if unions take back over and someone gets elected that is, pro workforce, unions come back with a vengeance. And I think because of today's technology and the fact that information is actually able to spread quickly, it is a bigger threat now than it ever was then. Because back then, companies could very heavily influence by just, being the source of information from both sides. Nowadays, there's very limited. Like, I could talk to someone on the East Coast and someone in China or England or wherever all at the same time. Like, technology is dangerous for companies. And I think
I'm going to transition out of this topic. Like I said, I enjoyed our little conversation there. It was much better and further reaching than I thought it would go, and I think it was perfect for this episode. So to tweet or not to tweet, it's up to you. You decide. You got freedom of speech. Go for it. Unless you say something against vaccines. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. All right.
Get vaxxed.
I wanted to talk a little bit about 3D printing this week because I have been having a hell of a time trying to get one measly faceplate to print, and I think I found my problem, but it's really hindering my ability to move forward with the project, and it's really bumming me out. But I think it has something to do with the software that I was using to create said product. And my point on the 3D printing was not all softwares are created the same.
No.
And not all printers are created to accept software from other places, if that makes sense.
If you're talking about Tinkercad, that's absolutely wrong.
Not Tinkercad. I'm talking about Process Slicer.
Oh. I mean, probably. I don't have... Here's the thing. When I set up I helped you set up the GTEx software, we were going on what information I could scrounge up. The problem with that is it may not be accurate. Obviously, it may not be accurate. It was causing you issues. Like, even for me, like, the best chance I have of getting my Elegoo to work correctly would be to use Slicer or Cura, whichever one it recommended, and importing its correct settings and everything. But because I've been tweaking and tinkering and changing stuff here and there, I've got my Elegoo dialed into a T.
And I am still in the process of pulling my hair out with this GTEC, but mostly because I was trying to just use Process Slicer as a replacement for the software that GTEC has designed for their own printer.
Which you're talking about the mixing stuff, right?
Not the mixing, just the painting aspect of being able to tell the model what colors to put where. And essentially what I found out is it kind of doesn't understand, if that makes sense. Like the printer doesn't understand when I tell it I want extruder 2 to be this color and I want extruder 1 to be this color, make it look like this. It doesn't really understand what it's doing. And I don't know why that is, because it's all just G code, but it doesn't work.
I would have to look at your settings. I'm assuming you're using a wipe tower.
I am not.
That's why. The reason, so this is a good teaching point. So
the reason, I'm guessing you're having layer issues.
No, it's just not printing in 2 colors. It's only printing in 1.
Okay. That's probably because it can't.
It can.
No.
And
I'm saying it can't because you have turned off. The wipe tower is essential for the machine understanding that there's 2 colors. Because without it, what you're essentially doing is you're telling the printer, like, your software can technically do it without a wipe, but it's using special G code to tell it what to do. Process Slicer needs the wipe tower because the way these work is they back the filament out to a specific point above the nozzle to back the new filament in. If you're not using a wipe tower, the printer doesn't know to pull back the filament. It just keeps going. And even if it were to pull back, it would just keep feeding potentially the same filament. Like, that was an issue I had that I quickly fixed. And it wasn't even, it was because my wife had tried to print something and used it without the wipe tower, and it did the same thing. It just printed 1 color. But that's because it doesn't know to not print 1 color.
Huh. Well, maybe I'll have to try it then and see how it does, because I have the design down. I've got the cutouts where I need them to be. All I got to do is be able to print this stupid thing in 2 colors. Yet I haven't been able to in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tries. And it was driving me crazy.
It's the wipe tower. Because, I think what happens is when you do the filament change, the printer will recognize, hey, I'm changing filament, and change the filament. If you don't, I'm going to assume the printer's just going to say, okay, maybe it was a mistake, and they said 2 colors, but we don't have a wipe tower, so we're just going to do 1.
Gotcha. Well, I suppose that makes sense, but it was kind of one of those things that was, it was like, golly, man, I'm telling you, this is really just, it was like I really needed it to be, to do what it was going to do, and it just would not. And so then I have to pull my hair out and...
No, and that's why I said, like, wipe tower is super important with these multicolor printers.
Well, it's worth a shot, like I said, because I've been working on this this plate, and I cannot get it to print correctly. Now, I did find that I might be able to do it. I mean, at least I'm pretty sure I figured out how to do it in my other software, the one that came with the
but yeah,
it's just one of those things that makes me like, I don't know. It was bumming me out. So the fact that you said wipe tower, that makes me think I should probably just...
And you know what? It's, in reality, it feels like a lot when you're printing small stuff because it's like half the weight. When you're printing something big like that, it's going to be, 60 cents, 70 cents worth of plastic that you're using in the wipe tower. Probably not even that, because your plate's so...
Well, the layer height is not very big.
Yeah,
so it'll be too much.
But that's where it'll be. Yeah, it'll be worth it. And then, speaking of those, God, I'm tired. It's been a week. Speaking of those purge blocks, those wipe towers, they are very dense, surprisingly dense. I want to make a guitar out of them. I don't know if I've shown you a lot of the stuff that we've 2-colored. But we did a dice this week. It's mostly been frogs. We've been mostly printing frogs.
Sure.
But we did a dice, and yeah, the purge, the white towers are just like they're very interesting.
Well, it's and I don't know. I haven't really used a wipe tower yet, so I don't know what the.
Well, when I say that, because we do have the plans to, or at least I have the plans to make a guitar mold for resin, because I have a few ideas that I want to do in resin for guitars. But I also want to use those purge blocks as filler. Because that's one of the things that I always hate about resin is that it costs so freaking much. And yeah, basically it costs. I would bet a guitar body out of resin would probably cost almost $60 just in raw material. But using those purge blocks as filler would not only look cool, but would take it way down. That's my random rant on guitars. I was gonna work on my guitar. I just didn't get a chance to it. I was making a Sailor Moon Pokeball.
Well, like I said, I've been working on this stupid thing for a few, trying to figure out how to get it to do what it's supposed to do. And it's just taken me some time to figure that part out, but I feel like it has to eventually I'll get it correctly and be able to I'll be able to get it to do what it's supposed to do. But,
oh, I'm sure you're almost there as it is. That's the thing is, so that's why I like once I got the settings dialed in and I was printing well, that's why I've been printing so many small things. I want to just see how long and how much I can push it before I have to, tweak it and re-level it or anything like that. But I would honestly suggest, because you kind of you got your printer and then you went straight out of the gate, I'm going to print a guitar.
yes.
And then you printed a guitar.
Yes.
That's fine. Like, I would love to have your printer just to be able to print like a helmet or something. But I would find a bunch of tiny, like 2-color knickknacks and put them on your plate and just test. See how small you can print. See how, big's obviously the dumb side of that equation. Like, if you can print small, you're going to be able to print big. But, like, download the 2 dual color frog and see how small you can print it accurately. Because that helps you get your printer in tune. If you're getting being able to fine tune it and get a frog that's tiny but still 2 colors is, a goal, because that way, your printer is fine tuned enough to make a tiny ass frog in 2 colors, which means if it can make a tiny ass frog in 2 colors, it can make a big ass guitar face in 3.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's my printing big is easy, because little things like not having a level bed or not having everything dialed in is going to be less noticeable.
sure.
But when you print small, all those little defects magnify. Not to mention, I guarantee you Delilah would love to have a few of those dual color frogs, or even the articulated dual color octopus. But
Well,
my suggestion is take a minute. Like, I get that you're probably going to, after this, start printing the guitar face again.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
But once that's done, load up a few fun things. Size them in various sizes, and then just see what the printer can handle. Because if it struggles at, like small detail, you have to tweak that. Or if it struggles with the 2-color and getting it right, now you have to tweak that. That was one of the first things I did to mine, was the retraction on process slicer is default set to 2. The person who set up their printer had it at 12. And I thought, they knew what they were doing, because they're the ones that posted it on the internet. 12 is, don't ever do 12 on retraction. It almost broke my printer.
Too fast?
Well, no, it tries to pull it out too far. You're almost pulling it completely out of the heatsink every single time. So I did 4.
Huh.
And my problem was I was having these little zits where it just wasn't retracting enough and leaving little blobs. Easy enough to pop off. Like, you just scrape them off. But I wanted prints that didn't have that. So I changed the retraction back to 4, got my printer re-leveled, got it all set up. It's been running perfect ever since.
So, well,
that would be my advice, especially when learning a new printer or getting familiar with a new printer. Print something that'll be fast, like the frogs. Like, I printed off 2 mushrooms, a frog, and an octopus, and it took 2 hours. No, 6 hours. But let me see if I can set off. Oh, no, it's right next. Here, let me see if I can get my webcam going. Reason being is because you'll be impressed at how small this is. I really hope that wasn't my microphone.
that's what she said. All right.
That's okay.
Couldn't help it. My bad.
Oh, no. Don't do anything, please. That's all of that. There's a black hole. We can. I was gonna say I'm going to completely zone out, because it takes. When I start doing this type of stuff, there we go, and I've made it massive. That's fun. So as you can see, my very messy Prusa. I was able to print this with the Elegoo Neptune 2D.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just look at how tiny and detailed this is. Like, this isn't articulated, so those joints inside the thing are all tiny. Like, tiny.
Right.
And, oop, there it went.
Now it's broken.
I hope not. I honestly, found it. But, like, the fact that it's this small and everything still works. I think this was like 25% of what it normally is. But I've done it again. Can't be an episode without that. But yeah, the fact that I was able to get it tuned in enough that it printed this without having any problems. I will have to say, do you have a removable bed?
I do not.
Good. I don't know if that's a benefit or not. I had to clamp that thing down with so many clamps because it just kept moving.
Yeah, the bed that I have is not the greatest, but
well, you can put a glass bed on it or something to that effect.
The one that they give you is literally just an adhesive sheet that goes on top of the bed.
Yeah.
So it's, it is what it is. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. So, well, we'll have to talk about that a little more when we, in our in our own time there, because we, it's one of those things that I've been struggling with and waiting to talk to you about, but we didn't talk last week because I didn't have a voice and I didn't want to, have a podcast where people couldn't really understand what I was saying. So,
Yeah, that's usually not good.
yeah.
And being down to 2, we don't have options.
Yes. Nobody to pick up the slack. So, that's why I was like, let's just skip it this week, unfortunately, because it's just not going to be good. I just couldn't talk. So we'll divvy that up a little bit more, and I'm gonna take your advice and try and give this thing a wipe tower and see if maybe that helps me out at all.
I bet you it does exactly what it's supposed to after that.
I'm gonna be really mad if we're being real. I'm gonna be super upset if that's all I needed.
I told you needed a wipe tower. And you're like, no. Yes, you need a wipe tower.
Well, I'm telling you, if that's what happens, and you're gonna see me really upset. But then I'll be happy once it finishes, because it had been a week and a half that I'm trying to get this thing done. Because after that week and a half is over, I'm pretty much done with this darn thing, and I can just move on. So, it's gonna be cool when it's all done. It's just, I've been tinkering, trying to get it all aligned so that it'll work correctly. And I can't wait to show it off when it's all done, because we're 3/4 of the way there now.
Yeah. And I'll
So,
have mine, at least the mock-up of mine done soon.
anyway, well, I think we're about at that time, John. So let's let's cut it off there, and wish everybody a good rest of their Friday evening. Hopefully everybody is enjoying it, and
We will have a special guest next week.
special guest. See, that's even better. We'll have 3 again.
Possibly for the next 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
My
Well, there
wife
you go.
is on vacation, and I figured we've been trying to get her on for the longest time. Trying to do a podcast with her for the longest time, and try and do it the next 3 weeks. She'll be on.
Yeah, something to look forward to anyway. And we'll keep it going, and think about Elon Musk out there doing his thing with Twitter. We'll see where he takes it. It's going to be an interesting follow to see how far it goes, because I have a feeling it's not ending where they think it's going to end. Knowing Elon, it's going to be a newsworthy thing for a while. So, that'll be fun to watch. What can we say? It doesn't take a whole lot for the Fuzed Relativity crew.
Nope.
Oh, John, before we go, did you see that hologram teleportation actually happened?
Hologram teleportation?
Yeah. Basically, they transported a human holographically onto the space station. He was a doctor. And basically he got to be right next to the astronauts on the space station via Earth with all virtual reality.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean that's cool.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, all right.
I've got a game that I can play that puts me on the ISS. Bit trippy.
I bet. Well, that was my closing argument. Something about you know what? Look it up. Hollow transportation. It was kind of an interesting article. You know, thinking about the future. Basically, it's just VR, but we're moving in the right direction. Maybe next thing will be people. Scotty, beam me up. Well, for me and John, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you have a great evening, and hopefully next week I won't be sick anymore because I'm over it.
Yeah.
But everybody, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Go boldly, friends.